Show with your host, Lonnie Clark. We stand together and accept that we now live in a world transformed by Fukushima. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on UCY.TV radio. We relentlessly engage every ear that listens. We expose the complete lack of accountability for the nuclear industry. Consider social engineering programs to view our bodies, minds, and souls as assets on a balance sheet. We discuss vital current issues, interview activists, and engage our audience in an effort to allow all voices to be heard. The Age of Fission radio show creates a venue that all will choose. We encourage our listeners to reclaim their power and their courage to take action and save our planet from the ravages of greed and indifference. Our actions matter. Every voice matters. We remind our listeners that happiness is resistance. Love is greater than fear.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to UCY.TV radio, and I am Sunshine On. I'm filling in this morning for Barry Prince, of the Big Puzzle, who is unfortunately out today with some back problems. So we're going to send him our prayers and make sure that he gets healed up here real good. So last week I was on by myself. I had a guest lined up, and that didn't work out. And I invited him on again this week and to see if we could talk more about that plasma healing energy. And unfortunately, he's MIA again. But I do have with me this morning a friend of mine named Garrett. Hi, Garrett. Are you there with me?
Good morning, Sunshine.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good for an old guy.
That's right. It's a little early for me, but I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, had my cup of coffee. So, yeah, I'm glad. Thank you so much for joining me last minute here this morning. And so I thought we would just kind of talk about some of the things that we kind of normally talk about. I decided to go back to my wheelhouse because that's kind of what I do best. And last week was all right. I was okay with how that went, but when it comes to technical stuff, I'm not exactly have the verbiage for it. So is there any particular thing that you have on your mind that you'd like to talk about today?
Well, there's a lot of things going on in my mind, Sunshine.
In the vast regions of the mind.
Should be more focused on some other people that probably needs a little more help than I do.
The world today, there's a lot of people that need help, actually. That's a pretty good topic, really. And it's kind of what I think we're all doing here on the radio, is trying to help people, whether it's help them open their eyes or help them with information that they might not know about. That's kind of what we do here. Mm-hmm. And so I know that you have an interest in learning more about the radio, which is why I invited you on. I think that you have a lot of interesting things to talk about as well. So we had actually kind of got to know each other a little bit doing another radio show together. And that actually was pretty cool, a pretty cool situation. It didn't quite work out the way that we wanted to, but I think it introduced you to the radio.
Right. Like mm-hmm. I was talking to Stone last night. There's got to be some kind of a system, I think. I mean, personally, I think, like, give everyone a 30-second window to make a comment or to make an answer or reply, instead of just going on for half an hour and walking on everybody. I think myself, personally, I would like to be able to see it set up and give me, okay, Garrett, you got 30 seconds to answer this question or to ask a question, and then wait for the answer, And I don't know, like Stone said, he doesn't know if Steve can do that or who can do that, right? He was going to talk to someone about that. I don't know. But.
Well, I think that we're all adults, right? And I think that sometimes the answers aren't just 30-second answers. And as much as sometimes I know myself, like I'm never at a loss for words and have plenty to say. Whether or not I could even say something in 30 seconds, I don't know. So, so, and sometimes it does. The answers just take a little bit longer. Sometimes people think more about what it is that they want to say, and they take a little longer in making that response. But we are all adults, and so therefore we should have respect for each other and not talk over each other and interrupt each other, right?
That's exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is kind of what my wheelhouse is, actually, which is I talk a lot about awareness, self-awareness, and self-control, both of those things, and then taking back our power and control over our thoughts and our feelings, our words, and how we use them. Our words are very powerful, and people really don't take into consideration a lot of the time what it is that they're saying and how they're saying it to someone, and whether or not it could be said in a different way that might not be disrespectful or demeaning.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we say stuff that's very offensive to other people too.
And it could just be the littlest thing, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think this is just in taking back our power and control. I think this is where kind of people in society have kind of drifted away from taking their own power and control back over these very basic, things about ourselves, where we get so into the routine of our daily lives that we're almost on autopilot and not thinking even for ourselves, just drifting along. And so I think that attributes to the disconnect from ourselves and from each other in being able to move forward in a positive way to change some of the things that are going on in the world.
Okay, like this morning, we were talking about taking control. Now, I have he's really more or less he's like a brother to me type thing, and he lives in my basement. Mm-hmm. Last year, he went and bought a bar here in town. And so I've been working the bar now for the last couple of weeks. I'm like his eyes and ears in that bar. And the problem is he will not take control of the bar. He's letting everybody else control him. And I had a talk with him this morning. I'm trying to explain to him the situation that I ran into yesterday while I was working. And as a worker, as an employee, I'm only allowed to say and do a certain amount of things. But I tried to talk to Tom this morning. He said, Tom, you've got to take control now. It's time for you. He's 65 years old, and he's not taking control of his own business, and he's going to lose it. He's got people sitting at the bar yesterday. This is unreal. Like I said to them this morning, how the hell do you get away with it? They got guys sitting at the bar rolling joints.
Okay, so we're kind of like in that's not cool, right? And no. Right, he can definitely lose his business for that.
Exactly, and now,
right.
And now the lady that his partner that he bought the bar from, she thinks that he is still, or she is still his partner, but she is the one that's got control over Tom. He's got no control over himself, over her, or his own bar. And,
So do you think that it sounds to me like, everybody has their wheelhouse, their skill, their gift, their passion, right? Not everybody is a business person. Not everybody can be a business owner. They just, like you're saying, they may not have the managerial skills or the like you're saying, taking control of the situation and doing what's in the best interest of the business. In that kind of situation, I would, if if we're honest with ourselves about what we're doing with our lives, right? It's okay if you don't have one particular skill over another. That's what makes us all so awesome and unique and as people, and additionally is why we're meant to be coming together and working together for the benefit of all, right?
Right.
Yeah. So being honest with oneself then about what it is that you are capable of, or maybe not so, good at, and if you need improvement someplace, then whether you hire someone else or go get some education, whatever it is that you do, but it's kind of like what Stone says, when you own it, and you have to own those parts about yourself that may not be like, as awesome as somebody else, but you're awesome in a whole nother way.
But how do you get someone in that state of mind, like that, have his mind blank? How do you get someone like that to actually take control of they can't take control of themselves. How can they take control of their business at least? Like, what do you say to them, or how do you work with people like that? Because I can oversay words that would probably hurt Tom's feelings too, right?
Right. So then you are paying attention to the words you choose and how you say them. That's being self-aware and having self-control. And, communication is a skill. And I'm very, very fortunate to have actually worked in some business environments where I got training in that. I think that my mom actually is the one who really gave that to me just growing up as a kid. She's a fantastic communicator, and like my mom and dad have never had and raised their voices with each other ever, because their communication skills. Now they have disagreements and everything, but they've never raised their voices because they have great communication skills with each other. So it's kind of hard sometimes when, especially if it's a family member, right? Or someone that you really care about. Sometimes our emotions can get involved.
Right. It's like Tom is like a family member to us. I mean, he's been with us for 6 years, right?
Right. So you care about him.
Exactly. And
well, that's a great way to open up the conversation right there, is just by speaking that. That you care about him. And one of the things that I learned very early on about communication, I was actually having a really difficult time. I've got that mother-daughter thing going on, even though she taught me great skills. It just happens sometimes, just the family dynamic. Right. And so I went to counseling when I was 18 years old, because it wasn't just her. I was a bank teller at the time, so we have a lot of customer contact. Mm-hmm. And my coworkers and people around me were being offended by the things that I was saying, or felt were reacting negatively. Right. And it wasn't so much that what I was saying, it's how I was saying it. And this is kind of what I learned in this counseling that I went to, is because I wanted to know what it was. Why was I offending people, or why were they getting upset with me? And one of the things that she taught me was a pretty basic communication skill, which is, she called it I, you. And the premise of that is, if I'm communicating with you about an issue, right? Mm-hmm. And I go, you this, and you that, and you this, and you that. Right. What that does is it puts you on the defensive. So your instant reaction is to be defensive and to, come back in that way. But if I start with an I statement, I feel like this I feel like this because of, okay? Mm-hmm. And what that does for the other person is they want to actually kind of come forward to you and to try and resolve the situation. They're more open to you and speaking to you, because they're not being put on the defensive. So that's just one little skill that really has made a big difference in my whole life. I've used it since I was 18 years old, and it's been pretty effective.
Yeah, and this is part with the bar scene here. like his ex-partner, used to be his partner. Now she is, I don't know, in denial of something because she does not want my eyes and my ears in the bar for some reason, right? Because I see, I hear, and of course I'm going to talk to Tom about it, right? Mm-hmm. She doesn't want that, right, for some reason. So I don't know what she, like everybody is saying, she has a problem, but we're trying to figure out what it is. But
you know, this just sounds like fifth grade to me, Garrett. It does. It sounds like fifth grade. Yeah. I really have to wonder what is wrong with people. I had a friend on Facebook who was separating with his wife, and they both just like put it all out there in public on Facebook, like unbelievable. Yeah. I just couldn't even begin to wrap my mind around like how anyone could even begin to think that that was okay. And then I'm like am involved with some groups online, right? And there's people who want to come into the group and who have an issue, say, with another person in the group. Not with the group itself, but with another person in the group. And then they'll just like bring the drama to the whole group. And I wonder what happened to respect. It's like respecting oneself and respecting each other.
Well, if you can't respect yourself, you can't respect somebody else, probably.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
I mean, I respect myself. I don't care. I respect how I look, how I dress when I go to work, and I respect myself for the customers look at me, which is a big part of the business, is how you dress and how you look in front of people. You know, if I went in there with a hoodie on, a pair of old work boots, and a pair of coveralls working the bar, well, I don't think I'm going to have a lot of clientele. I go in there and I'm dressed up with my nice shirt, my pants, you know, and I'm clean shaven. Wow, people will actually talk to you.
Excuse me. Well, you know, I do think that people put far too much emphasis on, you know, the way that others look. There's a judgmental factor there that goes on that I don't agree with, but I do understand what you're saying insofar as, excuse me, insofar as, you know, presenting yourself in a professional manner, presenting yourself, I mean, you are in a bar where you're handling, you know, drinks and stuff that, you know, people want to make sure that you're clean, right? And the bar is clean kind of thing. So that absolutely makes sense to me, yes.
Yeah. Like I've heard lots of people say to me, oh, wow, it's easy to know when you're working. And I said, why? How can you tell? Well, look at a bar. Look at everything. Look how clean everything is here when you work. Mm-hmm. And if I'm gone for 2 or 3 days, nobody seems to clean. And if I go into a bar and it's dirty, I'm not going back to that bar, you know. Mm-hmm. And but Tom,
so it sounds to me like you have pride in whatever work it is that you're doing. You take pride in doing a good job.
Everything I do, I take pride in it, you know. No matter what it is, if I'm doing something for myself or doing it for somebody else, yeah, I do take pride in what I do. You know.
So why do you think that a lot of people don't?
Well, with Tom, he doesn't. He probably takes pride, but he doesn't take pride off the bar itself. What his business is, what he should be taking pride in. He's probably taking pride in his girlfriends or something of that, but he's not taking pride in his business, which he's the guy that should be in there doing the cleaning and keep the place clean. Like, and have a rule, no drinking on the job, which I strongly disagree with any job, not because you're a bartender, no matter what you do. You should not be drinking. If you're getting paid from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, I expect you to be in there clean and sober and doing my job. But
well, it is his bar, okay, and it is his business. So, in that, you know, you sound a little bit like me, Garrett. I'm kind of a little bit of a control freak sometimes, but I've gotten away from that quite a bit. But I totally get where you're coming from, and you know, it's funny because when I had my first baby, my husband, you know, changing the diaper and all that stuff, right? Well, I can always do it better. Yeah. And so, you know, but then as a new mom, you know, I can get burned out. And so, and then he's the dad. He wants to participate too. And I really, my mother-in-law actually kind of helped me to say, hey, just you need to let him participate too. Because I can always do it better, anything better than everybody else.
Yeah, so we think we can.
Right, exactly. But then that ends up, really, it doesn't allow other people to grow too. And so rather than trying to take control of the situation, right, we change our verbiage a little bit. And instead of saying you should be doing this, you should be doing that, it's more of a, come on, let's go do this together. Let me show you how I would do it, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they'll catch on, and then they're more encouraged to do it, and then they see the difference, and then things would maybe change around for them. So that would probably be my suggestion there. It depends on how much time, I guess, each one of us have, but it's also up to us to take the time too with each other. It's really easy to just, after a long day's work, even with our own children, I think a long day at work and just that routine week after week, day after day, that we sometimes, just want to escape. And unfortunately, I think it's our children that really suffer in that regard. And you wonder why is today. I think it was by design that people were manipulated into becoming two-income households and being mortgaged up to the hilt, where there really wasn't even an opportunity or a way to be able to raise your own children even. And they were going into nursery schools and preschools and an under-education system. It's really a travesty. And I know that I didn't pay attention for about 20 years. And I really, when I did open my eyes and I looked around, I was literally on another planet. I couldn't even believe what I was seeing, and how come nobody was doing anything about anything. One of the first things was the whole fluoride in the water thing for me. Fluoride in the water? Fluoride's a neurotoxin? I'm like, why is there still fluoride in the water? How come no one's doing anything? It just blew my mind. But I have to tell you, one of the first things that I did, and they were already adults at the time, they were 20, and I sure don't want to see, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. I sure don't want to have anyone have to do that with their own children. And so then it falls back to, again, self-awareness. Really paying attention to what it is that we're doing with ourselves. I think that we've been manipulated into these systems that enslave us, that keep us distracted, that keep us looking outside of ourselves as a means to escape the routine by design. So having self-awareness and taking back power and control over our thoughts and what it is that we're thinking about, instead of just being mindless and drifting along. Are you back here with us, Garrett?
Yes, I'm back now. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I wish TC was able to do that, but I'm not aware of that, so okay. I'm just filling in right now. I'd love to have TC come and join us. If she was on Skype, we could probably do that, but
okay.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? About the distraction by design and people just kind of drifting along and not really taking time to think about themselves and what it is that they're doing with their life and doing in their life and how it's affecting the world and the people that they care about most around them.
Myself, I'm not distracted, so I really I'm not distracted in my lifestyle or anything in my life because I am pretty much on top of things. I know what I got planned for every day, and every moment of my life is pretty much planned out. So I'm not distracted on anything. I don't know.
Do you ever feel like escaping?
I got nowhere to escape from myself. Like, I'm happy from where I'm at. I got no reason to escape from my job, my lifestyle. I love my lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I love where I live. So I actually don't have a reason to escape, you know?
Well, that's fantastic.
I had a reason back in the 90s when I was in Mexico in prison. I had lots of thoughts of escape, but
right.
I had never.
I imagine so. Yeah. And myself too. I mean, in my life, you know, it was escaping from my feelings. I'm a very, very deeply feeling person. And not only I used to get very overwhelmed by my own feelings, but could feel everybody else too. And that was very overwhelming. I didn't have a mentor around to kind of help me understand what that was all about growing up, how to manage that, how to deal with it. And that being the case, I found a way to escape from it, and I spent a lot of years escaping from it. And I think that when we're unhappy or when we are stressed out, don't have a lot of things to really, and it's been going on for so long, it just seems very overwhelming to try and reel back in and take control over our own lives again.
So when I was growing up, when I was young, I've never had a mentor, no one to help me come through life either. I was adopted when I was very, very young, and the people that adopted me, neither one of them had any schooling, education whatsoever. They could not read, they could not write, and they were trying to bring me up the best way they could. And I guess that's why I learned such a very young age to look after myself and try to look after other people that had the same problems I had, did not know how to read or write. And when I went to school, I had the same problem. I could not read or write because I had no one to teach me. And when I was in grade 3, that's when I had to leave school. Because I could not get ahead. I just could not. I was focused on other things and other people. I was 13 years old in grade 3. So that'll give you an idea how slow I was in school, and I had no one there to help me to go through life the way other people has been going through it, you know. And when I started having kids, oh my God, I just couldn't wait to get them home so I could actually try to talk to them and show, and teach them how to read and write and understand about life, what I went through. And then they found it very hard. They, found it hard to believe. But when they finally got older, then they realized, we have to learn to read and write and respect and everything else. But I don't know. It's kind of hard when you don't have education. Just like I keep telling Stone, a lot of things, yes, that I hear all you guys talk about, very, very interesting topics, but I just don't have the education to comment the way that I should be said. I might have a comment, but I probably say it wrong and be offensive to somebody.
Oh, well, I know exactly where you're coming from there, Garrett, and you should have heard me on the radio last week. I don't do like the whole technical terms thing. Now, I can understand when I read physics. I can understand. I understand a lot. But when it comes to retaining that information, my mind just doesn't do it. I guess maybe because there's so much stuff up there. I don't know. So it's very frustrating to think that it's very frustrating to me to try and communicate with other people who do have the terminology, right? And try and sound like I have any kind of intelligence. I just sound like an idiot. Mm-hmm. But I don't beat myself up for that, Garrett. It's just who I am. It's the way that I am. I know I'm confident enough in knowing that that I am an intelligent person. I just work in a different way. And this kind of goes back to the education system, I think, and how you're supposed to, every single kid is supposed to be the same, that fits in that same box and learns the same way. And I mean, it's just so heartbreaking because I think so many kids get so lost in that system and they get labeled and they feel, I know my son just is brilliant, very, very smart, but he didn't fit in that box, and he felt horrible about himself. Even just the whole grading system, like, what is that about? It makes just kids feel like they're not good enough. Mm-hmm. And
it's funny how you say that, because I'm the only one in my family that has no education whatsoever, okay? Mm-hmm. And I've never actually physically worked in my life. Like, you know, I mean, work means labor, like use my hands. I worked all my life, but it's all in my head that I worked. I've owned many, many businesses, and I succeeded in every business I had. Like, I'm a licensed mortician, and I've got other family members like that. They own all these businesses, but they're a different type of people than I am, because they know everything, they know it all, but got nothing. And here I am, I know nothing and got everything. And
you know what, Garrett?
Resent you for that. You resent me for that, and they got no communication with me or nothing, because I'm the dumb one that has everything, and they're the smart ones with nothing.
You know, this is really interesting too. I am very much an oddity in my family. If not only my parents, my siblings, but then in my extended family as well.
Right.
And because I never fit in the box, and have chosen to live my life differently than how they chose to live their lives. So what's important to all of them was this higher education idea, this, the career type job. You know, they've fed in. Unfortunately, they've fed in my opinion, to the false narrative of what success is. Mm-hmm. And to me, love and happiness makes the world go round. That's always been my priority. Is if I'm not happy doing what I'm doing in the job that I have, then what is the point? Yeah. You know. Yeah, now I've been very fortunate, and I don't have a savings. I don't have a retirement plan. But you know what? I had a 35-year career doing what I love to do and was able to make a living at it, doing what I love to do. Right. And that to me is priceless. So, you know, it's interesting though too, like as far as going quote unquote down the rabbit hole in what you're saying, because, not everybody, it's not happening to everybody at the same time. Usually, there's this commonality out there that you're the only one in your family that's opened your eyes first, right? And of course, when you see what's really going on, it's just mind-blowing, and you really want to inform the people that you care about the most.
Right.
And so what I get back from my family is basically they insult my intelligence. And because of who I am and their judgment of that, then they aren't even going to give me the time of day that I could possibly even know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. I mean, I've been with this one lady now. We've been married for 16 years, and her family, she has 2 girls, and they are the exact same way. They resent me because I changed their mother. You know, their mother was always there, hand and foot, wiping their nose at everything. I mean, up to 30 years old. And since we've got married, their mother changed, and they're all resentful of me because why mom was never like this until she met you. Well, like she keeps saying, I wanted to make a change. You know,
she wanted to have her life. I mean, when you're a mom your whole life, I mean, and it is a lifelong job. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But at some point, you want to have a life too.
That's like Sharon. She just wants to have a life, and she keeps telling her two daughters that she wants to have a life. I mean, I didn't change her. I just put her on a path to a different lifestyle, which she chose to join, and which she is enjoying. She's enjoying the lifestyle. She's living. She's happy. She's got what she needs. But her family, not her family, don't take me wrong, her family, her sisters, they just love me to death. You know? But her two kids are resentful because they're not there for her all the time. You know,
she's not there. She's not at their beck and call. And
right. You know,
right.
When they want $20, mom said, "No, I don't have $20." Well, Garrett wasn't there. You give me $20. You know. So
it's too bad that they want to put that blame. This is a whole nother point then. Like we tend to, rather than taking responsibility for ourselves, people tend to want to, it's just so much easier to point the finger at everybody else as to what's wrong with your life, right? It's the government's fault. It's their fault. It's that job's fault. It's my boss's fault. It's my kid's fault. It's whatever, my ex-husband, the list could go on and on and on. But at what point do we take, again, responsibility for ourselves, take back our power and control? Because here's the thing, Garrett, when I say take back your power and control over your feelings, it is not that people aren't going to, get their feelings hurt. Of course, our feelings get hurt. This isn't a perfect world. No, and people aren't perfect either. I do think that we are perfectly flawed, and equally so. So that makes one no better than the other. Nope. But when I say take power and control over your feelings, it's like it is still a free will to choose. We always have the free will to choose what to think, what to feel, and what we say. And so in that feeling area, I don't have control over anybody else. And if my feelings get hurt, they get hurt. But it's up to me how long I decide that I want to rest in that hurt. Hold on to it, hold on to the pain, hold on to the past, hold on to resentment and bitterness. And those things don't hurt the person who hurt you. They only hurt yourself.
That's funny.
So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so it is about like not going, taking power and control over ourselves is not about pointing the finger at everybody else. Because honestly, you think anything, nobody can make you feel anything, nobody can make you say anything unless I suppose they got a gun to your head, right?
Right.
So take back your power and control. Stop if you're focusing on all the negative stuff in the world, it's up to you. You have the free will to choose what you're going to focus on. If you're choosing to focus on all the negative stuff, well, you're probably going to have a lot of negative thoughts and feelings going on, right? And if you choose to, if you have like negative self-talk, even if you're consciously aware of your own thoughts, when those negative thoughts come, it is your free will to choose to stop them. Our minds are a powerful thing. Just stop the thought, stop the negative thought right in its tracks, and redirect. Go to something positive. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes until it's second nature.
Like, I'm you probably, Stone probably told you a lot about my past, my history, and which we all have. I don't know if we have listeners that's listening that's been in the same situation as I have been in, and I think you brought up last week, I heard you, I think you was talking about abuse. I mean, abuse is a big thing in my life, in what I'm going through. In fact, the only thing I have is the abuse part, and I'm trying to deal with and find out, right? Now I find out that there is a possibility that my first cousin is actually my sister.
Mm.
You know, but now I've been trying for many, many, many years to get answers, but I cannot get them. So now I am forced to open up a different chapter because I have to go and start doing DNA tests now to prove to myself. Instead of having the person that's actually knows all of this come forward and without hurting myself anymore or hurting anybody else, at least come forward and just say, okay, this is what happened. Okay, you know, I know this day and age we're going to find out. You will find out, Garrett, because you are a guy that will find out. And why not save the hurt on other people and just come forward and tell, okay, you know, is my first cousin actually my sister? You know?
So that's very interesting, and I think it's probably there's a lot of that going on. You know, the world has been a pretty messed up place for a long time, and the family dynamic is a very interesting dynamic, and there's this dysfunction, and I do think that has been by design as well, and it's been going on for a very long time, dysfunctional family units. Mm-hmm. And family secrets and the skeletons in the closet and all of that kind of thing. Our own need is, especially like if you were, like yourself, adopted. I have no paternal history. My biological father was adopted as a baby. My children seriously have no paternal history because their dad was adopted as a baby. And right. Again, my dad was adopted as a baby. So there is, and then my biological father was killed when I was in the 6th grade. My stepdad was already my dad, and he's my father. I love him as if he was my own father. I mean, he raised me as if I was his own. So that is my father. Daddy will always be my daddy, but see, I'm the oddball in the family, right? Well, I have that genetic kind of personality traits that are my daddy. And because he wasn't around for me to get to know, there was a part of myself that felt like a part of me was missing in a way. And then, so I've done a lot of work on all of that. I mean, I've spent years doing all kinds of self-work. So I've really am in a unique position that I have done so much. One of the things that I did in regards to that with my daddy, it was to kind of give myself some resolution, and it's amazing how much writing will help, is just writing that letter, writing those questions that I wish I could ask him. And now that was kind of cathartic in a way of being able to move past it. But an interesting thing, too, is after going down the rabbit hole, okay, after opening my eyes, recognizing that there's some truth to our history as a species on this planet that we don't know. And it was really important to me. Again, it's kind of like, I want to know who I really am.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, even though I've gotten closer to that truth, it's still a theory or conjecture, or, there's just so much to it. It's really, I'll never know. Like many of these truths, I'll never know because... Well, I think that I got to a place when you recognize that your entire life has been nothing but a deceptive manipulation, and the depths of some of this manipulation and lies, right? Like, you get to a place where even if I was told the truth, I don't know if I could believe it.
Yeah, it's hard to know, isn't it?
Right. So then how did I move forward from there? Because I could be like, I like to be informed. I'm a little bit of a control freak like you there, Garrett,
Yeah.
not so much anymore, but I like to be informed, but I realized that I was also focusing on all this negative stuff, giving it energy and helping to manifest it, bringing my life down. So how do I stay informed, but not be obsessed by it? And I think I just got to this place that said, you know what? It's okay if I don't know the truth. It's enough for me to know that I've been lied to, and for me to take my power and control back and not allow myself to be lied to anymore. And I can move forward from that place. So again, the past is pretty much irrelevant. You can't change it. It's our journey. Hopefully, one of the things that helped me was there's negative experiences and positive experiences in life. But really, even a negative experience becomes a positive if you learn and grow from it. So really, there's no negative experience.
Mm-hmm.
So the past is the past, and I feel that if you are holding on to things from your past, then it's really just like holding on to your ankles and holding you down. And preventing you from being able to move forward in the best way possible by just letting that go. It's the past. It doesn't matter anymore. Now, I'm not saying that's for you or in your particular situation. I don't know. I'm just saying what has worked for me.
Right.
Right. And it has been very freeing to just simply let go of the past, to say thank you to it. Thank you to every experience that I've ever had, whether good or bad. See, I've removed those terms out of it because someone else defines good and bad. Someone else defines good and bad. Someone else defines right and wrong. And my good and bad and my right and wrong may not be your good and bad and your right and wrong, right? So I just had to take it to positive and negative experience, and then, we just already covered that. So for me, it's just I can let go because I can say thank you. Thank you for that experience. Thank you for letting me love you. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. Thank you for hurting me so that I can learn and grow from it and not let it happen again. And by thanking with gratitude those are past and letting it go, then we're not chained down to it and free to move forward.
So what I'm thinking, I don't know, but I have had a couple of different people tell me, I'm thinking maybe this will let go from my past, may let go. Maybe when my biological mother actually dies, she might just take all that with her. That's something she might do. She might just take all this hurt and pain with her, but she's still alive, and this is probably the reason why I'm still hanging on to it. I'm still hoping that she will come out and tell me the truth before she dies. But if not, if she do die, maybe that's when it's all going to leave me. Maybe my fear about my past and who I am might leave me when she do pass away. I don't know. But
how will it change anything for you if you do know that? How will it change anything?
But this I don't know. Right now, it's a lot on my mind because of the past, and maybe. So,
because of your childhood experience, maybe life could have been different for you if, in fact, this other truth could have played out.
Well, yeah, my life wouldn't have changed any better. I could not get any better than a life that I had. I had a most wonderful life ever, except for an incident, of course, which I choose. Mm-hmm. That part of my life, and I went to Mexico for a visit and forgot to come home for 5 years. But
So then look. So really, it's not going to change anything for you.
I don't know.
And it, might it free your mom? Maybe, but that's her and her life. Would it be nice to know? Sure.
Yes.
It would be nice to know, but certainly obsessing over it or having it interfere with your other relationships, it's I'm not you, and it's your life, and certainly do what you feel is pressed on your heart. But nothing's going to change whether you know or you don't.
Well, I'm to a point. I don't know. I do not know, because where I've been adopted and at such a young age, I do not know even if I have a brother out there or a sister. Yes, I've been told that these people are my brothers and are my sisters, but I see other families that have brothers and sisters. They talk, they get together, they do things together. But the ones that I'm told it's my family, my brothers, I don't even know where they live at, mostly. Right.
I see what you're saying. So you grew up a single child? Is that what you... Right. So now we're kind of getting to the root of it right here. So you have always wanted to have siblings and sibling relationships. Right. Well, I'll tell you what, they aren't always cracked at what they're cracked up to be. Unfortunately, I've watched my mom and she's got 7 brothers and sisters. I have watched those people do the most crazy thing with each other, not talk to each other for years and just constantly judging each other's lives. And I mean, you hear stories like this all the time. I don't have a very close relationship with my sister at all. We talk maybe once a year. I raised her basically as latchkey kids. I don't know. Life's a trip. We get dealt this hand, and it's up to us to figure out how to navigate through it and work through all of those things. And so, yeah, I feel for you though. I do. It's a trip. There's a lot of people who have been adopted as children, and it really is profound. It does profoundly affect their lives. And I think that goes back to even knowing as a species what our true history is. I think that plays a big part in this whole dynamic that we've been lied to, and how effective we are as the human species, and being to our fullest potential, our connection to our tribe. Okay, I don't think that this whole concept of blurring the lines so much that we lose our uniqueness as a culture, different cultures in different countries. And I think that that's very important. I think it's awesomely beautiful. Like, there's so many other cultures and the way that they do things and the things that they know, and the food is just amazing. And I don't ever want to lose that unique identity. But I think that it really truly is a part of our species to be connected to our history, to our ancestry, to our tribe.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Very important. Where I came from or where you came from is, so people ask me now, questions. Where are you actually from? Well, the only thing I know, I was from Newfoundland. I was born in Newfoundland. But are you from Ireland? Are you from Scotland? I don't know. I don't have anybody to give me that information,
Right. Yeah, I know my maternal history, and actually that line is really has been kept in record all the way back to, I'm actually 10th generation descendant of Knut the Viking, which is interesting. There's a show on right now, I guess, called Vikings. Now, I don't get television. I haven't watched television in 20 years or more. So, but it doesn't look like it's a very nice show. and I don't think that Knut the Viking in it has been portrayed very nicely. But that's not what the history books say. And who knows, those are all screwed up as well. So who really knows? But when it kind of got pressed on me to want to know more, that there was something to this connection to our tribe, to our ancestry, right. And looking into that, and just as much as it is the human species as a whole. And there is a lot of ancient text out there, and maybe, Garrett, that might be helpful for you to start going down that road, just to know your history about your species, the human species. Maybe that will help kind of fill in this spot for you a little bit.
Well, when I talk to someone like yourself, you do reflect back. You know what I'm talking about. You've been down some of that little road that I've been on, mm-hmm. and it helps me a little just to know that there's someone else that actually knows a little bit about what I'm talking about, And mm-hmm. a lot of people I will talk to, they will just in through one ear and out to the other. They don't care. But a lot of people actually, like when I listen to you on the radio, Sunshine, I get a lot of information that actually helps me. You may
Thanks, Garrett.
Like you may not think you're helping me, but you are. Like I tell Stone that too. The same thing when I sit here and I listen. Sunshine's got some good topics that actually reflects to me. And this takes a little burden off of my shoulders,
Well, it is about knowing that we're not alone, Garrett, and this is why I encourage everybody to, in fact, I put out this challenge. I think I put it out last week. I'm going to put it out again this week. Part of our disconnect, folks, is that from ourselves and from each other is affecting us in a very profound way. It's going so deep that we are not able to comprehend a lot of the time each other. It's taking away our compassion and empathy for each other as well. Right. Our acceptance and tolerance for each other as well. We've created a society of narcissists. And so I encourage everybody to take the challenge, just one simple question, one person each day this week that's in your life, that's close to you in your life, and ask them, what does love mean to you? And I promise you they'll be shocked when you ask. They'll be shocked that you care to listen. They'll have to think about that answer because we haven't thought about it in so long. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And just opening that communication with each other, I would say put it out on your social media as well if you want, and mm-hmm. see what kind of response you get. But I'm telling folks that this whole chatting and texting and this non-verbal and non-visual way that we've been by design communicate with each other now, this is what is disconnecting us. Because we don't talk to each other anymore. Right. Exactly. And part of comprehending each other is hearing the inflection in our voice, seeing the expression on your face. That's why when you hurt someone's feelings, you see it, you hear it, and then you know. And instead of just saying something mean to somebody online and then blocking them and walking away. Yeah.
That's so often.
Right. Well, we're getting ready to close up here, Garrett, and I want to thank you so much for coming on with me today. That hour went by so fast. It's been a great conversation.
It's been a pleasure talking with you, Sunshine. It always is a pleasure listening to you, and I'm sure all the other listeners agree with me. They all enjoy when you come on the air, and I enjoy it, so...
Well, thanks, Garrett. I really appreciate that, and I really hope so, too. It's what I try and do in this world is my way of giving back, and I encourage everybody to find well and take back your power and control over your life, over your thoughts, over your feelings, over your words, and pay attention to how you're using them. And I want to, I think that Barry Prince will hopefully be back with us next week on The Big Puzzle. And I want to thank everyone for joining us here at UCY.tv.